here we are, another episode of More or Less. Joining us today is Lyn Lapid.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm honestly really tired. Trained up early this morning, from Maryland, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Thank you for hopping on the show
Yeah, of
today.
course.
Our question that we ask everyone is, how are you really feeling in this moment?
Yeah, I feel like I am holding on, doing my best today. I think just because early morning, I low-key did an all-nighter today. And it's because I was up signing a bunch of the
I
album
saw
vinyl.
your Instagram.
I did a live where I captioned it as like crashing out and signing vinyl, and I put that as a joke at first, but then I was really going through it and then just like getting through the pile, or actually not getting through the pile at all, and I was like, this is taking forever, I still have to pack. And yeah, then it turned out it turned into real crashing out. And I was like, and then I showered and I was like, oh great, I have to leave for the train station now. So yeah, I'm doing my best, I think.
Yeah, that's all you can do though most days, is
Yeah.
just doing your best, like
Mhm.
meeting yourself where you're at. And
Exactly.
it sounds like you're tired. It's been a long night.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some ramen after this and then call it a day. Yeah.
Nice. Do you find so going live and signing the vinyls, does that make the time go faster? Like, does it make the process go faster?
I feel like it makes it go slower because I like so often look at the comments to see what people are saying and then I never focus on
Because you're
signing.
trying to multitask.
Yeah. But it's nice to see just like people like watching me and stuff and just interact. I feel like it's hard to promote a vinyl, especially because like this is my first vinyl that I'm
Mhm.
or second vinyl that I'm putting out that I'm like hardcore promoting, but just having people there um see the process of it, I think is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is, one thing you need more of and one thing you need less of?
Ooh, one thing I need more of, I need more sleep. I think in general, I'm terrible with um my sleeping schedule, and I have a really bad habit of just like staying up for no reason. And then like obviously everyone's awake during the day, so I have to be awake during the day, so I'm not sleeping as much, and my mom clocks me on it so hard. She gets up for work because she's a nurse
Yeah.
every morning, and she sees me up at 5 a.m. and she's just like, I don't know. She's Filipino, and I'm Filipino. But she scolds me for staying up late and how it's going to uh ruin my health and everything.
Yep.
Which she's not wrong, but I'm like, yeah, everyone's on me. It's like the one key personality trait of me. It's just like how terrible my sleep schedule is. And then I guess one thing I need less of is just, I don't know. One thing I need less of, I feel like I need to cut back on the caffeinated drinks after noon. Because I be drinking some like either tea or matcha at like 5 p.m. and I know it's
Okay.
not good for me because I know I'm gonna stay up. Um, but I love matcha lattes. I like making them. And like I like putting a little cold foam on them. Uh, but yeah, I need to cut back on
So
that
you
a
need a
little.
cutoff time.
A little.
I
Yeah.
feel like I mean, I call it the 3 o'clock slump, but that's usually like round 2 of caffeine for me.
Yeah.
But after 3 o'clock, I don't think I could do like a 5 o'clock or a 6 o'clock. Like, I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
could do another one. Like, I kind of know that 3 o'clock is the cutoff time. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you need a little bit of like a boundary.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm also just really bad with drinking caffeinated drinks in general, just like a soda or black tea.
Hmm.
'Cause I drink a lot of that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really bad for my sleep schedule, but I love it so much, so it's hard to.
I I just went to the dentist yesterday.
Mm.
They were like, "Do you drink sugary caffeinated drinks?" And I was like, "Why can you tell?" Like, they had already done the exam, and I was like, can you just acknowledge what it is? 'Cause I know it's because I drink sugary drinks that I need
Yeah.
2 cavities filled, so
Mm.
but so we live.
Yeah.
Now your sleep schedule, has that always been a thing for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it honestly just went downhill the start of high school, and
Because that's usually, I feel like, when people start to develop
yeah,
strange sleeping habits, when you're
yeah,
up late doing homework or just on
exactly.
socials, whatever.
Yeah, I thought that by now I would have it like figured out and fixed, but I think something about I think someone told me there's a phrase for it, but it's like when you're so like hung up and busy during the day, you try to make up for it by like staying up and like getting back the time that you
Mhm.
lost with being so busy. There's a phrase for it, but yeah, I do that a lot. It's
Yeah.
like the same thing as like when you get home from a long day of work and like driving home and then you stay in your car for like 2 hours, not 2 hours, 30 minutes. Um, yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like some of my friends in traditional 9 to 5s are like, "I'm so busy during the day having meetings or just being social and having to, like, answer questions that, like, I don't get any work done." Like, I don't actually have time to be creative or time to get my tasks done, that then they go home and open up their laptop till 10, 11 o'clock at night, like,
Hmm.
working, and then your brain is thinking, "Oh, we're in work mode or we're in, like,
Hmm.
creative mode. We're not going to sleep mode," and
Yeah.
your body can't adjust to that.
Hmm.
So then how does it work when you're touring or when you're playing shows?
Ooh, it's so hard because I think I love touring. It's like my favorite thing to do as an artist, but I feel like all the obligations that you have to do, especially headlining, is just like you get to the city, you prepare for the show, you play the show, you have to clean up, you get to the hotel. Because I don't travel in a tour bus, I travel in a van.
Mhm.
All of that happens and finishes by like 1 a.m. every night. And then like a lot of the time I handle my own social media. So I'm up creating the video for the next day. And so I have the weakest immune system, I would say, um, out of all my peers. And I get sick very easily. And I think just the fact that it's kind of impossible to get a good night's sleep on tour um, just factors into all of that. Uh, and yeah, I love touring, but I would say it's the most exhausting part of the job, I think.
Both physically and mentally.
For sure, yeah.
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 Is there anything you've learned over the years? I mean, it's only been a few years, but ways you could better take care of your body
Yeah.
or like any rituals you've done or any routines that you're like, I have to do this in order to not get sick or,
Yeah.
make sure I sleep 2 hours versus 1 hour.
Yeah, I've honestly just been like changing little parts of my life to allow me to focus more on my health, and one of that is like getting someone to take over my social media, which I've done just recently and it's changed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also trying like that gives me more time to sleep and like takes the workload off for a little bit. And also um I'm also changing like how I interact with people on tour. I love my fans and seeing them and all my listeners and supporters together. But when I'm meeting so many people and talking to so many people, it's like I'm performing like
Yeah.
3 times as much, past, like, the regular being on stage part. So that's so much, like, wear and tear on my voice, and, my vocal coach told me that, like she clocked me on this too, where, like, apparently, to better preserve your voice, you're supposed to be talking at a higher pitch and placing your
I've
voice
heard that too.
higher like this, which is so unnatural and sounds so weird, but because I talk so grovelly, and it's so bad apparently, that like factors into like getting sick so easily. And so I'm trying to be better with that. I'm not doing that right now, but I know on tour I'll definitely be on that more and just sleeping more. And my friend put me on to these like I I joke about them and call them Korean drugs, but they're just like supplements, vitamins, like iron, vitamin C, and
Mhm.
I have them in my bag right now that I'm taking every day,
Yep.
um, just to like boost my immune system and everything. Because I know I wouldn't really take medicine until I start to feel something, and when you're sick and you start to feel something that's like
Yeah.
already game over.
Yep. You're like,
Yeah.
it's happening. It's happening. That like slight itch at the back of your throat.
Yes.
You're like, oh no.
I know. I fear for my life every time I have that on tour because I know it's just downhill from there.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
just have to ride it out until it's gone. But hopefully, I've been on these supplements for about like about a month now, and since then, I've not gone sick. So cross fingers and toes and everything that I could cross on my body.
Um, I want to go back to social media, so having someone else handle that.
Mhm.
How recent was that shift?
Low key, like a week and a half ago.
Ooh, hot off the press.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Yeah. And it's been a long time coming. I feel like I'm so particular about my social media that I don't trust anybody to I have my own certain way of like voicing things when I'm posting, and
Mhm.
I never really trusted anyone to handle my social media, so I would only do it myself. But it was like everything with the album rollout is so demanding, and I'm so thankful to be busy all the time, but it just means that like I can't be as focused on social media as I can. And I feel like for my audience, I feel like that's the one way to reach my audience. So if I'm falling behind on that, then um that's like my worst nightmare. And having someone take over is just like I'm my guitarist's sister, um, who is the same age as me. We have the same exact humor, and we call it like we have the same brain rot humor. We're on TikTok way too much and like know too many of the trends and the memes, and so she gets exactly like what my voice is on online, and she's able to replicate it very much, and I'm very appreciative of her. And it's crazy because she's a student as well, like handling college and stuff. But yeah, it's hard to find someone who's like really in tune with social media because I
Mhm.
feel like it's such a new thing to be good at. um and yeah, I'm so grateful for her. I feel like I'm able to just relax and
Yeah.
not think about what I have to post on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts. And yeah.
So now what role do you play in that? Is she sending you captions or edits and you
Yeah.
kinda just sign off?
Yeah, exactly. That I do a lot of that now where I'm just helping brainstorm and helping edit when I can. And yeah, it's more so of a team effort rather than just me doing it all by myself.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's gotta take a huge weight off.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it a lot on the show, but part of being an artist now is so much content creation, and
Hmm.
when you're in cycle, that only increases. So to
Exactly.
have someone, and I think it's so, especially for people listening, people see like, "Oh, I wanna do social media," but I think that it's so important to find the balance because artists were made to make art and not
Mhm.
necessarily crank out TikToks every day.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I was first starting, I was learning that, like, it's not like 10 years ago where um, other people would handle it, and it wasn't too much of like a necessity, I feel. I feel like now, because the way I was able to start music as a career was because of social
Mhm.
media. And so, like, I can never really fall back on that or fall away from that.
Right.
It's like something that I will always have to be consistent with. And I think it's really easy to start to resent that part of the job because it's just so um people say like just companies and labels, they think like, yeah, just record a 15-second TikTok for your song and then that's it. And it's so much more.
If only.
If only was like that, I would be so much not as stressed as I usually am. Um but it's so much more than that. It's like finding the niche that
Mhm.
that that people connect with, and figuring out how to navigate through algorithms and all that. It's just like I didn't go to college, so I am just like playing things. I have been playing things by ear ever since I started doing social media. Um, and I feel like there's way to recognize patterns, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's a very much a guessing game.
Yeah.
So all of that is just, I think it can be draining, like when it's so much all at once.
Do you think for you having been discovered through social media that there's another added layer of pressure when it comes to the content just because you know that that was your origin?
I think so, yeah. I feel like, I started doing covers when I was posting on social media, and so like when I started straying away from that and promoting my own music, people would comment, "Why
Yeah.
don't you do covers anymore?" And like, "Why don't you sing on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube anymore? Like, we miss that content, and why are you promoting all your music and blah blah blah." Like, I felt like it's it's a give and take because like I do want to put up my own music, but also, what got me to this position where I am now is the covers and like doing things that like um that got a lot of views back in back when I first started. It I'm still figuring out like that balance of like creating content for clicks rather than just like sharing my art um in a way that isn't like for clicks, you know?
Mm,
And I think that also it bleeds into the music as well. I think when I was first starting, I was like, should I make music that gets clicks or do I just make my own like stuff that I want to do? And a lot of times those two things aren't the same thing. Um and yeah, I struggled with that a lot when I was first starting as an artist because I had so much pressure to um there was so much pressure that like influenced me to act a certain way with content creation and also just like writing and making music.
especially when you're kind of at a crossroads in the beginning of,
Hmm.
okay, people know me for my covers and now I'm going to release original music. And like you said, is it going to be a TikTok song that goes
Hmm.
viral or is it going to speak true to me?
Yeah.
So do you feel like now approaching this project with a debut album, how do you feel sonically today in this moment? Because I'm sure it's
Yeah.
been a journey trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I feel like sonically, thematically, and lyrically, this debut album is exactly where I want to be. Like, um, with my music, I feel like for a while I'd struggled with making music for clicks and likes
Hmm.
and repostability and stuff like that. But now, and I know my team will gasp when they hear this, but I don't look at streams. I don't look at my monthly listeners. I don't look at I don't think I even have the apps like for that downloaded.
Hmm.
They just sit in my like phone and I never touch them. And I make music. This album I make music with no gauge of like how well it's doing or like how well it would do. Because I think that it honestly just like made me fall in love with making music again and using it as like a way to process my emotions and also just share, my story as an artist. And um yeah, I mean like and I think about it in this way where like the true fans will resonate with the true side of the artist. And so I think it's very fans are very smart and are very easy to tell when something when an artist doesn't resonate with the music that
Hmm.
they're putting out.
Or if it's like manufactured. Yeah.
Exactly. And I knew that I didn't want that for my artist project. So I make music for me and the fans that will resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're hitting on a really good point too that, you know, artists are able to express things that we often can't say in words, and that's the beautiful part of music, but it has to be true to you,
Mhm.
and not anyone else. And I'm curious, like not looking at the metrics or the numbers. So when the album does come out,
Mhm.
there's people on your team that are going to be doing that.
Mhm.
Are you making that conscious decision to protect your mental health?
I think so, yeah. I feel like especially when I started out, I super attached myself to the numbers,
Hmm.
especially on social media with like, oh, this post didn't get that many likes or this song isn't streaming as well as this one. It's like and I feel like it really first it tanked my mental health and like after it like pushed me into a way that like I started making music not for me anymore. And it's a balance of things. I really pay attention to just like personal messages that fans send me, like DMs and emails. And I'm very active in like my Discord page and my broadcast channel, and like seeing the reactions there, I feel like is enough for me to know that like that fans are resonating with the music that I'm making, and I think that's good enough for me, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm not an artist, but if I were, and if I were in your shoes, it would be like, here's my debut album. It's great to me. I'm proud of it. I did that.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, happens. But
Mhm.
looks good to me.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to keep it pushing
Hmm.
with that attitude. I think it's so important that you're feeling that now, rather than maybe 3, 4 albums down the line,
Yeah.
because it just grounds you in your truth as an artist versus
Hmm.
like what the outside world could or should be putting on you.
Yeah. I I I think so too. I feel like um I made a promise to myself when I first started putting out music when I was 17 that like I I knew that I wanted to put out music that was for me and that was authentic to me. And um yeah, I feel like with my music I very much value authenticity and like narrative and voice in my music. And I think that's one of the things that my fans like appreciate with my music is just that it's honest and true to myself.
I can say that. You are a super freaking introspective kind of writer. And it's beautiful. Like the way it your narrative shines through. Like it doesn't surprise me that you're sitting here saying you care about narrative because as a listener, you can tell. And I think that's a skill and a beautiful talent.
Thank you.
And because you choose to be so vulnerable in your music and because you're making it for you, are there ever times where you find yourself writing or using writing as your journal that you find yourself working through personal things that you're going through in that moment?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like with this debut album, that was basically what I was doing. I was going through a very vulnerable time living in a new city by myself, and my all the songs on the album is essentially just this one long diary entry of me processing my feelings. And I feel like it's funny because I have this private Instagram account where it's just me and my close friends, and I share demos
Mhm.
with them. And I hadn't used it for a while, but when I started like finishing the songs for the album, I was posting, you know, w- like these songs that I was thinking to put on the album, and I had forgotten who had access to the page. And so like I'm writing about real people in my life and like real experience that I'm going through, and sometimes it's very telling like who I'm writing about and like what situation I'm talking about. And I'm honest in my music, very very honest in my music where sometimes it can get me into trouble. Um and it did, where I posted a song and a friend who knew that the song was about her um messaged me and was like, "Hey, can we talk?" And I was like, my heart dropped. I was in a session, I remember that like, oh shoot, like I didn't know what was gonna come out of it, and we ended up just having a really productive conversation about open and honest conversation, just heart to heart about like everything that I'd been feeling and struggling with, that I'd written about in the album. And I feel like it grew our eh, bond together. And um, I very much appreciate her even till this day for reaching out and like helping me process through those things. And she knows that like I use my music as a way to process my feelings and emotions. And um, yeah, it's very much just a very long diary entry.
Yeah, it's so interesting because one of my notes, one of my takeaways from this album is so much of it bleeds into adult friendships and
Hmm.
navigating that. So it's interesting that that kind of came around full circle for you because
Yeah.
that's I was listening to it and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going through like friendship breakups and like learning how to adult with that.
Hmm.
Did you find that fr friendship? Because here's what I've heard about LA, that it can be very hard to make friends in LA.
Yes.
So did you find that it was just kind of like, "Oh, I'm in my 20s and friendships are hard," or was it the fact that I'm in a new city and this city is scary to make friends?
I think it was a mixture of a lot of things. I'm a very reserved person, and I can't fake a smile for my life
Same.
or fake a meaningful conversation. I very much value small circle of friends rather than a big group of acquaintances. And I think also just the vibes between people on the East Coast and people in LA or let alone the West Coast just are very different. So it was a lot of adjusting to that. And I feel like, I don't know, something about, not to hate on LA, but I kind of do in this
It's a safe
album.
space.
um, as we say, as we're in New York. Um, but I don't know, the vibe. I feel like maybe I'm definitely biased, but the vibe of people on the East Coast just seem more real to me. I think like we don't beat around the bush,
Hmm.
and we're not passive aggressive like I feel like a lot of people in LA are. Um, and I don't know. I very much found the vibe of LA to be like people won't say things to your face, but they'll say it behind your back. And um, being like I didn't go to college, so I didn't the only people that I was interacting with were just people in the industry. And I feel like it's very easy to run into people like that. And at some point, I was starting to feed into it, and it felt terrible about myself.
Yeah.
And um, I knew that that goes against what I value. And I vowed to myself that I'm not doing that anymore, like for the sake of drama or tea
Yeah.
or anything like that that I feel like so many people in LA feed off of. I don't know. That was the vibe that I got when I was living there. But navigating the friendship thing is just like so many people I feel like are used to that over there. And seeing that in real time was very jarring and overwhelming, I think. And um it was really a lot of a lot of the time was me just trying to find people who don't do that, which is kind of really hard. Um, and yeah, I feel like this first year living in LA was just maybe one of the most vulnerable times of my life. And I feel like everyone talks about coming of age in your teens and when
Hmm.
you're 16 or 17, but nobody really talks about coming of age in your 20s, um, when you're still trying to figure out like everything as a young person. And um, yeah.
I think we encounter people in our lives that are very surface level. And when you're craving a deeper relationship or just trying to meet people that are real, when you're in environments in a place like LA or anywhere that's, you know, drugs, partying, alcohol, it attracts a crowd that may not always be wanting those deeper friendships or those deeper relationships.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like getting caught up in the moment and,
Mhm.
oh, we're friends because we bump into each other at every party, but like I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that's just a common occurrence in trying to navigate a social life, no matter where you are. But I can imagine like in a city like LA and it's entertainment everywhere that comes up more often than not.
Yeah.
Whereas East Coasters, we're very like I use the word direct,
Mm.
just because I feel like we are and we'd rather just cut the bullshit and
Yeah.
figure out who you are as a person, and I want to get to know you versus
Yeah.
the small talk.
Exactly. I feel like so much of the first months living in LA was just the small talk and just, meeting people that were friends of friends. And likewise, I was the friend of a friend
Mhm,
for someone. And like, I'd see you at the club every weekend, but you never hit me up for coffee. I never hit you up for coffee,
mhm.
or anything like that. I feel like, uh, a lot of those relationships and friendships that was making was that. And it was draining because I was like, I don't feel like very fulfilled just doing this all the time and, doing things that I didn't like to do, but doing them anyway to not be alone.
Yeah.
Like going to clubs and parties and stuff. And sometimes they could be enjoyable with the right people, but I was very much just doing it over and over and over again for the sake of not being alone. Um, which made me even more miserable. It was like a lose-lose situation, I feel like. When I was home, by myself. I would see my friends go out
Yeah.
and I would have FOMO and I'd be miserable, but then I'd go out with my friends and I'd still be miserable.
You'd be like, when can I go home and be in my bed?
Exactly. Exactly. So uh it was just that a lot of my first time living in LA, and it was really just my like just because of me feeding into that cyclical behavior, um that I felt very stuck.
Yeah, but I also think it is part of that coming of age
Hmm.
in your 20s. Even if you weren't in a new city, you probably would have come up against that with friends that you grew up with or
Yeah.
whomever. Just that ebb and flow of like, oh, our lives are different now, or oh, we're in college, or oh, we're working, or oh, we're in a different city. And it just kind of happens. And yeah, nobody really talks about that part of adulthood and how you handle it because it is that weird feeling of like, oh, someone that I would talk to every day, I now talk to once a year or
Yeah,
every 6 months.
exactly.
And those are weird, vulnerable feelings, but I feel like everything you've expressed on this album and Buzzkill, fans are gonna deeply connect with that because I think it's a universal experience. We
Yeah,
all have that of like,
yeah,
"Who are my friends? Who are these people?"
exactly. And I was like writing the album and processing the emotions all at the same time. But I'd realized, and the reason why I called it Buzzkill was, um, with all these parties, events, clubs I was going to, and with these people that I was hanging out with, I felt like a buzzkill.
Mm,
And I had convinced myself in my mind that I was a buzzkill. And then, like, after finding my footing a little bit, and then, like, finding the people that, value me the same way that I value them, that I realized that I was only a buzzkill with the wrong people. And, like, it's such a simple answer, but, like, so much goes into it, and, like, when you're in it, you don't really
yep.
see the light at the end of the tunnel, where you kinda just think, like, "Is this all that's made or left for me?" Or, like, "Is this all I'll have to settle for?" Or is it really worth trying to find that sense of belonging that, like, so many people crave, that is just such a human emotion? Um, just, like, the feeling of wanting to belong, uh is so universal, just like it applies to me as a 22-year-old who is living in a new city for the first time, but it could also like be a 13-year-old girl that is moving schools
Mhm.
in her county. And I love the universal the uni what's the word? Universal.
Universality.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah, universality.
Yeah, of all of that.
Yeah, it's just I think and that's what people connect with and find you to be relatable and your music
Mm,
relatable because you're able to go there,
mm,
um, whereas other people might not. It might
mhm.
not feel genuine to them, and I think,
Yeah.
yeah, we all go through that at some point, maybe more than others.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely there's nothing wrong with you. It's just there's something wrong with the
Yeah.
people around you
Yeah.
in the sense of sometimes it can feel like you're putting on a version of yourself to appease other people
Exactly.
or packaging yourself to be a certain way, just
Yeah.
even in your career, friendship,
Yeah.
romantic life, all of that. But when you're able to be like, no, this is who I am, the right people will come into your orbit. Or
Yeah.
at least that's what I'd like to believe.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was hard, but I let go of the people that I was trying so hard to fit in with, and that only just opened up the opportunity for me to find the people that I truly like
Hmm.
should be with. Um And yeah, I feel like that's the entire journey from start to finish of Buzzkill. It's just like finding yourself lost at first, and then finding your footing, and um, finding that community, and letting go of, of situations, people, relationships, friendships that don't really serve you
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
And I come from the mindset too of like, people are meant to be in your life for a season. It doesn't
Mm,
mean that they need to be there forever. So it's
mhm.
like you learn so much from those people that might have just been temporary in your life.
Yeah.
And they come and go. So it doesn't have to be like a bad blood thing or friendship ending.
Yeah.
It can just be, hey, like we had a good run.
Yeah.
Um, and you learned a lot from that experience. But I I love that the album ends on like this confident note, like "Take Me as I Am,"
Mhm.
because it just feels like you're kind of reclaiming back your power.
Yeah.
Whereas we went on a trip with you this entire album of how you were feeling and those up and down emotions throughout.
Mhm.
And then I love that it ends kind of like, "This is who I am, take it or leave it, and I'm gonna figure it out."
Mhm.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I was I think for a while I knew how I wanted the album to wrap up, and I found it very satisfying in that way to kind of just like, you know, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the people that I'm hanging out with or like there's anything wrong with me. It's just like we don't click
Mhm.
together that way. And um it's really just finding that self-worth and accepting who you are um for who you are, and the right people will come along with that.
100%.
Yeah.
I wanna ask you kind of like a million-dollar question in a
Yeah.
way, but how do you measure success?
Ooh.
It's a little bit of a loaded question. I feel like
Yeah.
we've talked a little bit about metrics and numbers and then fans sharing intimate stories with you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when you go to bed at night and fall asleep, how do you define success in your world?
I feel like at least as an artist who like making music for about 5 years now, um I ask myself like, am I making the music that I love to play, that resonates with me, like thematically, lyrically, sonically, and are fans resonating with that? And I feel like I could confidently say with this album that that answer will be yes.
Mhm.
I love the music that is going to be on the album that I'm going to play on tour, and I think so many of my fans, I feel like, are going to appreciate that. It's I think it's cool that like, you know, an artist that's touring the world is feeling these feelings. And honestly, just getting those messages of people resonating with my music and knowing that my music is making people feel seen in their own situations is what I think like, yeah, I think I'm doing it in the way that I want to. And I would say that's how I would measure
And that's
success.
like your North Star. Like
Hmm.
on days where it feels really shitty or really hard, like that's what you come back to.
Yeah.
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 And the one question we try to close on is, what is one thing you've done today or this week to take care of yourself and your mental health?
Ooh, honestly, I feel like I have been playing tennis a lot.
So fun.
Yeah. My brothers and I, we go out to play tennis almost every evening when I'm back in Maryland. And I'm very much not a sports person or just like an exercise person at all. But who knew that like it was that simple where just like an hour or two outside or just like getting your cardio in
Yeah,
or
just
anything
try
like
it.
that.
Why not?
Yeah, I was so much of like a that's a load of um and I never did it growing up. I was like never in sports or anything like that. But then I found something that like keeps me active, that I enjoy, that I'm still really bad at, but like keeps me active, and it's improved my mood a lot.
That's awesome. Will you
Yeah.
be a pickleball person or solely tennis? It's
Tennis,
a hot debate, I
yeah.
feel like.
All my friends love pickleball, but my brother makes fun of me for wanting to try pickleball because he says it's like the easier tennis. But yeah,
I
I
think the
love
real
tennis.
deal will always be tennis.
Yeah.
Like that is the OG form
Mhm.
of that little ball
Yeah.
and a net.
Mhm.
Lyn, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Y'all, Lyn is going to be on tour May and June of this year, and Buzzkill is out April 25th. So go stream, show some love,
Yes.
and we'll catch you next time. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.